So I'm Knolly Williams. I'm called the Business Healer. What I love to do is help entrepreneurs reach their ultimate greatness, and I like to do it by helping them do less. I think, Russ, most entrepreneurs, the majority of them that come to me, they're doing about 90% more than they should. Meaning that when I look at their daily schedule, like when I look at what they do every day, 90% of the things that you're doing right now, you listening to this, you probably should not be on your plate. So I'm a master at systems, operations. That's kind of my wheelhouse. I've been an entrepreneur, believe it or not, for 40 years. Now I'm 53, Russ, so we got a little something in common, right? I'm 53, but I became an entrepreneur at 12 years old, and I just never shook it. And at the age of 23, that's the last time I had a W-2. So I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 30 years. My first thing was selling Grit magazine door to door. Okay, and I would buy these magazines in wholesale from some back of some comic book or something that you send off your money, and then you get a stack of these things and you sell them, you resell them. And then I did some lawn mowing, and I did some manual labor, but I found out very quickly, Russ, I'm just not cut out for that, bro. It didn't work for me. So I figured out, how can I make the most money possible with the least amount of work? So I started selling candy in school. That was a big money maker, and a few other things that I did. So yeah, I tried to figure out. I did mixtapes. I became a DJ, scratch DJ, and you bring me a tape, cost me $0. I make $10. And I said, did tons of those. So yeah, I did a lot of stuff like that. I've had really good jobs. I'm trying to think of, the worst job that I had was I was working for this guy named Chop. He was in the neighborhood, and this guy, he was in construction. Now that right there should have told me he was in construction, and he paid really good money though. But he had me shoveling dirt into the back of a dump truck. So I had to get this shovel, fill it with dirt, and then here I am, all 115 pounds of me. At that time, it was the worst job I had, bro. It was bad. So I got into real estate. Well, I first got into the music industry because that was my passion, my love. I was doing rap, hip hop, and I was a Christian rapper, believe it or not. And I started a record label, and pretty soon it got distributed by EMI Capital. And by the time I started that label when I was 23. By the time I was 28. I made my first, with 29, I made my first $1 million. I was actually making $150,000 a month back then. And I was doing well. I had 14 employees, and everything was great. And then fast forward 3 years, man, and the digital market hit, and I did not shift with the market, Russ. I was like, no, it's a fad. It's not going to be here long. And a lot of agents are out there the same way. You've got to shift. When the market shifts, you got to look at it and you got to change. So I ended up getting bumped out of that industry, and I was like, what's next? When I was forced to sell my house, 6,000 square foot home on 10 acres, and I paid my real estate broker at the time $29,375, I think it was, and I said, that might be my next gig right there. I like that paycheck I just paid him. And so I studied the game, man. I studied the game, and I got into real estate as a listing specialist. That was the name on my card, the very first business card I ever had, listing specialist. And I did 21 listings my first 74 days in the business, and I went on to list over 1,000 houses during my first 10 years in real estate. So I did a lot of research on this I don't even know if you knew that I have a new book coming out on McGraw-Hill. It's called 3 Hours a Day, and it just chronicles how I live my life every day, right. Running 3 companies and able to work 3 hours a day. And when you do the research and you really look at all the studies, the scientific studies and the college studies and the case studies, what you'll notice is that everybody has a superpower. You've got one, Russ, I've got one. And if we focus on doing the things that are squarely within our superpower, what we'll find is that there are only a couple of things that we're like super good. Listen to this. Okay, Ed Milet, remember he was on stage. And this is so interesting, Russ, and I picked up on it right away. He said, there's only 2 things I'm good at. Listen to this for a minute. Here's a guy that has over $800 million at his disposal, right? That's his net worth, almost $1 billion man. And he says that he's only good at two things. And this is the reality. He knows that. Most of us are only good at one or two things. That's it. And if we focus all of our time and energy on that one or two things, we can be $1 billion person, man or woman. And so he said he's good at loving people, and he's really good at reading people. Those are the two things he's good at. And so that's really what it boils down to, finding out what you are really, really good at, what's your superpower, and then to simplify it, leveraging everything else. And leverages people, systems, and tools. So Zone of Genius was actually coined by Roger Hamilton. He wrote a book called The Millionaire Master Plan, and he has a test called the Genius Test. You take the test and it tells you, there's basically eight different geniuses, and it tells you which genius you fall into. Also, there's the DISC test and the passion test and other assessments. But I like the simplicity of what you talked about just now. I mean, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, you take all the tests, all the assessments. I've got something called Discovering Your Divine Destiny that I invented with 121 questions to figure out, who you are and what gets you excited. But let me give you the simple way to do it. The way I did it when I got into real estate, one of the first things I did was hire a coach. That was 8 months into the business, I hired a coach. Now, if I had not hired a coach, I would not have gotten where I am. I would not have done the 100 deals, because that was not even a stretch of what I wanted to do. But one of the things I did before I hired a coach was I took an 8.5 by 11 sheet of yellow, like a Big Chief pad, and I wrote down every single thing that I did on a transaction. And lo and behold, it ended up there being like 46 different steps, tasks, right? And I rated each one from a scale of 1 to 5. 1 means I hate it, 5 means I love it. And then there's other ratings in between. And I decided right then and there, Russ, that if it's not a 4 or 5, I wasn't going to do it. Okay, so that's how I started. It's basically 1 means I hate it, so it's I hate it, I like it, I really like it. No, I hate it, I like it, I don't like it. No, I hate it, I don't like it, I like it, I really like it, I love it. So I said I'm only going to do the things that I really like or love. Even if I like to do something, I'm not going to do it, because that's a 3 for me. And that's how I started, Russ, with it. Just like you said, making a list of things that because we pretty much know what we're really good at and what we're not good at. But I think you have to distill it even further. When you look at a real estate agent, we only ever have 2 problems. Only 2. We either don't have enough money or we don't have enough time. There's only 2 problems in the business. And you solve the time problem with lead generation, and you solve the leverage, you solve the money problem with lead generation, you solve the time problem with leverage. Yeah, and in my book, I actually have a workbook piece of it where you can kind of go through there and figure out what what your zone of genius is, right there in the book. But there's a lot of different ways you can figure that out, but it's so important, because the truth of the matter is 90% of the things that most real estate agents do, and entrepreneurs in general, are not things that's in their zone of genius. And really, if you were to, and this is how I ran my real estate company, is I only focused on the 10%, and I still run my life and business this way. And I basically leverage out everything else. And even if you're terrible, because a lot of people think, well, I got to get organized. I got to organize my whole business and then I can delegate it. That's the wrong approach. You delegate, and then the person you delegate to organizes it. Yes. See, that's the only way it will get done, because you could work for 7, 8 years trying to organize it. I ask people all the time, is the president of the United States organized? It doesn't matter. Yes or no, who cares? Because that person doesn't have to worry about that, because they have people that do that for them. And there's a lot of reasons that people don't delegate, don't hire, and I cover that. I've studied this in depth. And the reason we're even talking about this is because if you really want to have the life, the career, the business, everything going the way that you were destined for, you have to change what you're doing, and you've got to get help. Nobody succeeds alone. I'm actually going to make it even easier. So if you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, you're an entrepreneur, a business leader, maybe you're a coach, an author, maybe you're a real estate agent, just possibly, right? Well, there's only two big picture priorities that you should focus on. And so let's say money is your big problem right now. You don't have enough now money, cash flow, okay? So the two big picture priorities for you will be generating leads and going on appointments. Trust me, if you only did those two things of the 46 steps in a listing, by the way, you should focus on listings. I think that goes without saying. I'm the listing guy, so let me say that right now. You should be focusing on listings in your career. We should be dominating and owning and controlling the inventory. So that's a supposition that I'm taking. So again, those are the only two things. If you generate the leads and you go on the appointments and have your team do everything else. The only third thing that I would add in there, Russ, is negotiating contracts. Maybe you could throw that in, but I had a person on my staff that actually did that, a licensed assistant. So those are the two or three. Now let's say money's not your problem. You're like, Knolly, man, I've iconed 7 years in a row. This year I'm on track to make 800,000. I'm good, man, but I'm tired of working 14 to 16 hours. Okay. Well, then what you should be focused on, now you should still have someone doing the lead generation and appointments, but your focus should be branding and leadership. You should be a brand ambassador for your brand. You should spend about 90 minutes a day doing that, and then spend another 90 minutes leading your organization, having the right people in the right places within your organization so that you can oversee it at a high level as a leader. So those are the two big picture priorities for someone that doesn't have enough time. Yeah, and so I do want to throw out that for EXP University, I did a training video, and it's all about the 8 lead sources right now that you should be focused on that are free. They're no cost lead sources for getting more listings. And so I talked about that. But let's talk real quick about the lead generation piece by itself. The only way that you'll be successful doing this is you've got to go into your lead generation bunker every single day. And we used to teach that you do that from 9 to noon. Now I teach that you just do that for 90 minutes. Because Parkinson's Law taught us that if I give you 5 hours to do something, you'll do it in 5 hours. If I give you 2 hours to do it, you'll do it in 2. And the reality is if I give you 90 minutes to pack for the trip, or if I give you 9 hours, it'll get done So the reality is we now know through research that 90 minutes is optimal. That's the optimal amount of time for a human to focus. So go into your lead generation bunker. And now listing leads, you should be focused on, like, to me, the biggest niches are going to be the ones that are market proof, like divorce, probate. Definitely you should be focused on your SOI. You should be reaching out to all of them. And I have an 18-touch system that I teach. I mean, I actually have a free book for those of you that could use it. We mail it to you. It's called Triple My Listings, 27 Marketing Ideas for Free Seller Leads. Okay, that's at triplemylistings.com, or you can go to Knolly.com, either one. And
there you go. Let's go Knolly.com.
Knolly.com. The book is free. You pay the shipping, and we send you the book. I wrote this book, Russ, because my revenue share group kept saying, "Hey, I'm in my lead generation bunker. What do I do?"
Yes.
And I was like, "Dude." So I have 27 ideas here for free seller leads. None of these lead sources are going to cost you $1.
Yes.
Okay. So and just to reiterate, so the Parkinson's Law. That was sort of brought in 1955, and it just so happens to share the same name with Parkinson's disease. It's completely different. But this particular gentleman discovered that if you give a person a set amount of time, and there's been numerous studies, Russ, on this. So there was a recent study that I included in the book where they gave a college campus. They said, okay, we have 3 assignments. You have this much time, and then they gave another group 2 assignments and more time. Well, they both finished in the same. The one that had more assignments in less time actually did a better job overall than the one that had more time and less assignments. So at the end of the day, we've discovered, if you give a person a minute to do something, it'll be done in a minute. It'll take a minute to do. And so, and the reason why you don't want to prospect all day, I used to tell people the same thing. Hey, you're not doing anything anyway. But it's kind of like the Netflix, I call it the Netflix sort of concept. So with Netflix, you can binge watch, easily you can binge watch 8 hours if you've got a new series out or whatever. But here's the thing, what will happen if I say you can only watch 2 episodes a day?
Right.
What will happen the next day? Man, you can't wait to get to the, you're like, okay, what, oh yeah. So if I cut you off, it actually makes it fun and exciting. And so when I give you 90 minutes, it's like the guy that says, hey man, I'm in the gym for 40 minutes, bro. I don't have an hour and a half. Man, he's banging it out. Whereas the guy that goes and got 2 hours, man, he's on his, he's looking for new songs. He's checking out the girls. He's getting a drink of water. No. When you, you go in, you got 40 minutes, you hitting it. You're going to hit it. Yes, time on the task over time, not how much time you could burn yourself out. Because if you do 8 hours, you'll do that for 1 or 2 weeks, and then you won't prospect for like 3 months. That's not what we're talking about.
Yes.
You have to prospect every single day. This is no different than, I mean, when we were hunter-gatherers, which we really still are, just in a different way. The hunting party didn't say, well, wait a minute, we're stocked up. I don't think I'm going to go hunt today. No. That's not an optional exercise. You go hunt because the family needs to be fed. Yeah. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hey, I want to invite you out to Knolly Coaching Club. That's right. The Knolly Coaching Club is where I'm able to teach, train, and coach you every single week to your ultimate greatness. Go to knollycoaching.com and I'll see you on the inside.